The crash landing. The ship's emergency klaxons screamed as the hull temperature approached critical levels. Dr. Ilara Chen gripped the manual controls, her knuckles white with effort. The survey vessel Horizon wasn't designed for atmospheric entry without proper vector calculations, but the electromagnetic storm had fried her navigation systems and left her with no choice. Computer, status on thermal shields. Ilara shouted over the alarms. Thermal shields at 36% capacity. Structural integrity compromised in sectors 7 through 12. Planetary impact in 43 seconds. Ilara cursed under her breath. The United Earth Science Division would have her credentials for this, if she survived. This uncharted planet wasn't even supposed to be on her survey route, but the storm had pulled her off course by several light years. Computer, deploy all emergency landing protocols. Reroute remaining power to impact dampeners. The ship shuddered violently as it tore through the planet's upper atmosphere. Through the viewport, Ilara could see the landscape rushing toward her. A sprawling tapestry of vibrant purple vegetation, unlike anything in Earth's database. The ship's remaining stabilizers fired desperately, slowing her descent just enough to prevent immediate death. The impact came with a deafening crash. Ilara's safety harness bit into her shoulders as the ship plowed through a dense thicket of tree-like structures before grinding to a halt in soft, moss-covered ground. For several moments, she hummed limply in her restraints, taking inventory of her injuries. Bruised ribs, a gash on her forehead, but nothing life-threatening. Computer, atmosphere analysis, she croaked, tasting copper in her mouth. Atmosphere contains 23% oxygen, 71% nitrogen. Trace elements of unknown composition. Breathable with caution. Planetary conditions. Gravity 0.92 Earth standard. Temperature 32 degrees Celsius. High humidity. At least she wouldn't suffocate immediately. Ilara released her restraints and fell awkwardly to the tilted floor of the cockpit. Emergency lights bathed everything in an ominous red glow as she gathered her survey pack, emergency beacon, and universal translator. The ship's communication array was destroyed, but the emergency beacon might still reach the nearest UESD outpost, if she could find high ground. Ilara forced open the emergency hatch and was immediately assaulted by a wall of humid, perfumed air. The planet smelled like overripe fruit and wet earth, with an underlying metallic tang that made her nose twitch. The purple foliage she glimpsed from above was even more striking up close. Plants with translucent, almost crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with inner light. Bioluminescent flora, she muttered, scientists' instincts momentarily overriding her survival concerns. Remarkable. A quick assessment of the horizon revealed what she already feared. The ship was beyond repair with her limited tools. The drive core was cracked, and the propulsion system had been torn away completely during landing. She was stranded, at least until rescue came. Ilara activated her emergency beacon and secured it to her belt. Its soft pulsing reassured her that somewhere, somehow, her distress signal was making its way toward civilization. Now she needed to find water, assess potential threats, and establish a defensible position. The alien forest around her teemed with life. Strange, chittering creatures flitted between the crystal-like trees, and larger shadows moved in the underbrush. Nothing immediately hostile, but Ilara kept her shock baton ready as she began to scout the area. As daylight began to fade, the planet's star cast peculiar mauve shadows through the canopy. Ilara noticed something odd. The forest had grown quiet, and many of the smaller creatures seemed to be moving in one direction, away from something. Curiosity piqued. She moved cautiously against the flow, keeping to the shadows. The sound reached her first, a rhythmic pounding accompanied by guttural chanting in a language her translator couldn't parse. Then came the smell of smoke and something else, something acrid and unpleasant. Following her senses, Ilara came to the edge of a vast clearing where an extraordinary scene unfolded. Dozens of humanoid figures circled a massive bonfire. They stood taller than humans, with spindly limbs and elongated heads. Their skin appeared to be covered in natural plates, like living armor in shades of copper and bronze. Elaborate markings adorned their bodies, glowing faintly in the firelight. "Sentient aliens," Ilara whispered, activating her wrist recorder. Tribal society with apparent ritualistic practices, but it was what hung above the fire that made her blood run cold. Suspended on an elaborate contraption was a being unlike the others, smaller, with skin that shimmered like liquid mercury. Its large, expressive eyes reflected the flames below as it slowly rotated over the heat. It wasn't burning, not exactly, but it was clearly in distress, its body contorting in pain as the tribal aliens continued their chant. Ilara's scientific detachment warred with her human empathy. First contact protocols were clear. Non-interference in alien cultural practices was paramount. But this looked like torture, like sacrifice. The silvery being's eyes suddenly locked with hers across the clearing. A jolt of recognition passed between them, though how that was possible, Ilara couldn't say. In that instant, she felt something, a desperate plea that transcended language. "Help me." The voice wasn't audible. It reverberated inside her mind. Ilara flinched, nearly losing her footing. The translator at her hip vibrated softly, trying and failing to process the communication. One of the tribal aliens approached the fire with a ceremonial blade. The chanting intensified. The silvery being's silent cry for help intensified in Ilara's mind until it was almost painful. First contact protocols be damned. Ilara reached into her pack and pulled out a plasma flare, an emergency signal meant to guide rescuers. With a decisive twist, she activated it. The clearing instantly flooded with blinding blue-white light. The tribal aliens scattered in confusion, their chanting replaced by alarmed cries. Ilara dashed toward the fire, heart pounding in her chest. She had mere seconds before they recovered. Reaching the contraption, she used her shock baton to short-circuit the mechanism holding the silvery being. It collapsed into her arms, surprisingly light but burning hot to the touch. Its skin felt like liquid metal, flowing and shifting against her own. "I've got you," Ilara whispered, though she doubted the being understood. But those mercurial eyes fixed on her with unmistakable intelligence. "Danger," came the voice in her mind. "Run." Ilara didn't need to be told twice. The tribal aliens had regrouped and were now advancing on her, brandishing weapons that looked both primitive and strangely advanced. Spears that hummed with energy, blades that seemed to bend light around them. With the silvery being cradled against her chest, Ilara bolted for the forest edge. The unfamiliar terrain made running difficult, but fear lent speed to her legs. Behind her, war cries echoed through the clearing. As they plunged into the forest, the bioluminescent plants reacted to their passage, brightening and then dimming like a wave, marking their path. The silvery being trembled in her arms. "My name Ilara," she said slowly, hoping the being might understand. "I help." The being's liquid eyes blinked once. "Vex," came the reply in her mind. "You? Human." Ilara nearly stumbled in shock. "You know humans." "Legend. Old story." The mental voice grew weaker. "They come. Before time." Before Ilara could process this revelation, a spear embedded itself in a tree trunk inches from her head. The pursuit had begun in earnest. "Where can we go?" Ilara panted, changing direction to throw off their hunters. Vex's arm extended, pointing deeper into the forest. Sanctuary. Ancient place. Sacred. The tribal aliens' war cries grew louder behind them. Ilara clutched Vex tighter and ran toward the unknown, away from the crashed ship, away from any hope of rescue, and into the heart of this alien world. As night fell completely, the forest transformed. The bioluminescent plants now shone with full intensity, creating an ethereal landscape of purples, blues, and silvers. Ilara would have found it beautiful if she weren't running for her life. The weight of Vex in her arms, the alien's strange consciousness brushing against her mind, the pursuing hunters, All of it seemed surreal, like a fever dream. But the scientist in Ilara knew better. She had crossed a line. She had interfered in an alien ritual, violated first contact protocols, and potentially disrupted an entire culture. And yet, looking down at the silvery being in her arms, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. The undergrowth thinned suddenly, and Ilara found herself at the edge of a small clearing dominated by a pool of still water. The liquid within glowed with the same bioluminescence as the surrounding plants, creating a mirror to the alien sky above. "Here," Vex whispered in her mind. "Water. Heal." Ilara hesitated only briefly before kneeling at the pool's edge. She gently lowered Vex to the ground, where the being crawled weakly toward the glowing water. "Will this help you?" Ilara asked, keeping an ear tuned for sounds of pursuit. Vex didn't answer, but instead slipped into the pool. The moment the silvery skin touched the luminescent water, both began to glow more intensely. Ilara watched in fascination as Vex submerged completely, becoming a bright silhouette beneath the surface. The water bubbled and churned, light pulsating in rhythmic waves. Ilara's scientific curiosity warred with her caution. What she was witnessing defied human understanding of biology and physics. Minutes passed. The sounds of pursuit seemed to have faded, but Ilara knew better than to assume safety. She watched the pool, waiting for Vex to resurface, wondering if she'd made the right choice in bringing the alien here. When the glow finally subsided, Vex rose from the water transformed. The burns and injuries were gone, and the silvery skin now shimmered with renewed vitality. The being stood upright, revealing a humanoid but distinctly alien form. "You saved me," Vex said, the mental voice now stronger and clearer in Ilara's mind. "Why?" Ilara considered the question. "Because it was right," she said simply. "I couldn't watch you suffer." Vex's head tilted, an oddly human gesture. Humans remain unchanged, compassionate, reckless. Before Ilara could ask what that meant, a new sound cut through the night. The rhythmic pounding of drums, coming from all directions. "They found us," she said, reaching for her shock baton. Vex's liquid eyes narrowed. "No. Worse. They've called the Guardians." As if summoned by the words, massive shapes began to emerge from the forest around them. Tall, armored figures unlike the tribal aliens. Where the tribes were bronze and copper, these beings were obsidian and silver, their forms angular and imposing. They carried no visible weapons, but Ilara sensed they didn't need them. "What are they?" she whispered. "The Guardians of Balance," Vex replied. "And you, human, have disrupted everything." The intervention. The Guardians encircled the pool, their obsidian armor absorbing the bioluminescent light rather than reflecting it. They moved with deliberate precision, each step calculated and synchronized. Ilara counted 7 of them. Towering figures twice her height with faceplates that revealed nothing of what might lie beneath. "Vex," she whispered, "what do they want?" Before Vex could answer, one of the Guardians stepped forward. Its voice came not as sound, but as pressure inside Ilara's skull, similar to Vex's communication, but heavier, more commanding. "Human interloper, you have interfered with the sacred burning. The cycle is disrupted." Ilara stood her ground despite the fear crawling up her spine. "I saved a life. Where I come from, that's not interference, it's decency." The Guardian's faceplate shifted, plates of obsidian sliding to reveal a glowing core that might have been eyes or something else entirely. "Your understanding is limited. The sacred burning is not death but transformation. The luminary must burn to release the essence." Vex moved between Ilara and the Guardian, silver skin rippling with tension. The human acted from compassion, a quality your kind has forgotten. Sentinel. Compassion without wisdom brings ruin. The Guardian. Sentinel turned its attention to Vex. "You have accepted the human's touch. The bond has begun." This was not foreseen. Ilara felt lost in the exchange, but noticed something strange happening to her hands. A faint silvery sheen had begun to spread across her skin where she had carried Vex. It didn't hurt, but it felt alive, like a second skin made of cool electricity. "What's happening to me?" she asked, showing her hands to Vex. The silver alien's eyes widened. "Too soon. The resonance should not begin until the third cycle." The Guardians moved closer, their formation tightening. "The human vessel is unsuitable. The essence will consume her." "I won't let that happen," Vex said with surprising firmness. "The human saved me. I claim the right of reciprocity." The declaration seemed to cause a disturbance among the Guardians. They communicated among themselves in bursts of pressure that made Ilara wince. Finally, the lead sentinel spoke again. "The right of reciprocity has not been invoked in 7 generations, but it is your privilege as a luminary. The human will be spared for now." Relief washed over Ilara, though she understood little of what was happening. The silvery sheen on her hands had stopped spreading but now pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Thank you," she said to Vex, then turned to the sentinel. "I need to understand what's happening. What is this essence? Why was Vex being burned?" The sentinel regarded her silently for a moment. The human requires context. It wasn't a question, but a statement directed at Vex. Vex nodded. "I will explain. But not here. The tribal hunters still search for us." As if to confirm this, distant drums echoed through the forest, closer than before. The Guardian's armor shifted in response, plates realigning into more aggressive configurations. "Take the human to the Temple of Echoes," the sentinel instructed Vex. "We will divert the hunters. But remember, luminary, the cycle cannot be broken, only bent. When the third moon rises, you must complete what was begun." With that cryptic warning, the Guardians moved as one, flowing into the forest like living shadows. Their departure left Ilara feeling both relieved and abandoned. "Are you strong enough to travel?" she asked Vex, eyeing the alien's still recovering form. Vex's silver skin rippled in what might have been a nod. "The healing waters have restored me. But you, human, Ilara, the resonance has begun within you. Soon you will feel its effects." "What is this resonance? And what did they mean about the essence consuming me?" Ilara examined her silvery hands with growing concern. Vex touched her arm gently. The contact sent a jolt of energy through Ilara's body, not unpleasant but startling. "Walk with me to the temple," Vex said. "It is a journey of one day. I will explain what I can." As they left the glowing pool behind, following a path that only Vex could see, the alien began to speak directly into Ilara's mind. "My kind are called the Luminary," Vex explained. "We are rare, perhaps only one born each generation. Our bodies contain what my people call the essence, a form of energy that exists between matter and consciousness." Ilara processed this through her scientist's perspective, like a bioenergy field. Similar, but more. Vex guided them around a cluster of crystal-like plants that chimed softly as they passed. "The essence connects all life on this world. It flows, it ebbs, it maintains balance. But in a luminary, it concentrates, growing too powerful for one body to contain. That's why they were burning you," Ilara realized. "To release this essence." Vex's mental voice carried a note of sadness. "Yes, the sacred burning is our purpose and our burden. When a luminary reaches maturity, the essence must be released through ritual fire. It disperses into the atmosphere, nourishing the planet for another cycle. But you die in the process," Ilara said, horror creeping into her voice. "Not exactly die. Transform. Our consciousness joins with the planetary consciousness, or so we are taught." Vex paused, silver skin dimming slightly. "But I feared it. I was not ready to surrender my individual existence." They walked in silence for a time, moving deeper into the forest. The bioluminescent plants grew more numerous here, creating natural pathways of light. Ilara noticed small creatures watching them from the undergrowth. six-legged beings with translucent bodies that glowed from within. And now, Ilara finally asked, what happens now that the ritual was interrupted? Vex's answer was grim. The essence still grows within me. Without release, it will eventually rupture my form and discharge chaotically. The results would be catastrophic for life nearby. Like a walking nuclear reactor going critical, Ilara muttered. But what does this have to do with me? What's happening to my hands? Vex stopped walking, turning to face her fully. In the glow of the surrounding vegetation, the alien's mercury-like eyes seemed to peer directly into Ilara's soul. Long ago, before recorded memory, humans visited this world. They discovered something remarkable. Human biology is uniquely compatible with the essence, where our bodies cannot contain it beyond maturity. Yours can channel it, use it, even shape it. Ilara looked at her silvery hands with new understanding. I'm absorbing the essence from you. Yes, when you carried me from the fire, skin to skin, you initiated what we call the resonance, a transfer of essence between luminary and human. It is a sacred bond, one thought lost to time when humans disappeared from the stars. The revelation staggered Ilara. Humans had been here before, had established some kind of symbiotic relationship with Vex's species. The implications for human history were enormous. But the Guardian said, I'm an unsuitable vessel, she reminded Vex. The silver alien resumed walking, pace quickening. Because you are untrained, the ancient humans underwent preparation before attempting resonance. Your body must adapt quickly or the essence will overwhelm your nervous system. Great, Ilara said dryly. So I either master this alien energy or it fries my brain. Any suggestions? The Temple of Echoes contains knowledge from the ancient times. Records, training devices. We must reach it before the third moon rises. As they continued their journey, the drums of the tribal hunters grew more distant, suggesting the Guardians had successfully diverted them. But new sensations began to plague Ilara. Heightened awareness of her surroundings, strange perceptions of energy flowing through living things around her, and occasional bursts of Vex's emotions and memories intruding into her consciousness. By nightfall, they had reached the base of a mountain range that glittered as if embedded with millions of tiny stars. The silver coating had spread up Ilara's arms to her elbows, and her vision occasionally blurred with flashes of light. We'll rest here, Vex decided, leading them to a shallow cave. The temple lies halfway up the tallest peak. We'll continue at first light. Exhausted, Ilara sank to the ground. Her scientific training warred with the impossible reality she now faced. In less than one planetary rotation, she had crashed on an uncharted world, rescued an alien from ritual sacrifice, been pursued by tribal hunters, encountered enigmatic guardians, and begun transforming into something no longer entirely human. Vex, she said as sleep began to claim her, if humans were here before, what happened to them? Why did they leave? The silver alien settled beside her, skin dimming to match the darkness of the cave. That is one of many mysteries awaiting us at the temple, but the legends speak of a great sacrifice and a promise to return when most needed. As Ilara drifted into troubled sleep, she couldn't shake the feeling that her crash landing on this planet had been no accident at all. Morning came with a strange dual sunrise. 2 stars, one golden and one pale blue, cresting the horizon in tandem. Ilara woke to find the silvery sheen had spread further, now reaching her shoulders and beginning to creep across her chest. More alarming, her veins glowed faintly beneath her skin, tracing patterns of light through her body. Vex, she called, momentary panic seizing her when she didn't immediately see the alien. Here, came the reply, both mental and vocal. Vex stood at the cave entrance, observing the double sunrise. The resonance progresses quickly in you, faster than the records indicated. Ilara struggled to her feet, noting that her movements felt both heavier and somehow more fluid. Is that good or bad? Unknown, but we must reach the temple soon. Vex's mercury eyes reflected the dual sunlight. How do you feel? Ilara took mental inventory. Beyond the visible changes, she felt expanded, as if her consciousness extended beyond her skin, sensing the life and energy around her. Different. I can feel the plants outside, the small animals in the rocks. Even the stones themselves seemed to have a kind of song. Vex's skin rippled in what Ilara had come to recognize as an expression of surprise. You sensed the planetary consciousness already. Most humans required weeks of training to achieve such awareness. Lucky me, Ilara muttered, though secretly she found the experience fascinating. Her scientist's mind catalogued each new sensation, already forming hypotheses about the nature of this essence. They began their ascent up the glittering mountain. The path was steep but clearly marked, ancient steps carved into the living rock. As they climbed, Ilara noticed strange symbols etched into the mountainside, geometric patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Writing? She asked, tracing one with her silvery finger. Memory markers, Vex explained. They store information that can be accessed by those sensitive to the essence. They tell the history of this place. Ilara's finger lingered on the symbol, and suddenly her mind filled with images. Humans in strange, ancient attire working alongside luminari, building structures, teaching, learning, exchanging knowledge. I can see them, she gasped. Humans from long ago. The resonance makes you receptive, Vex said. The memories stored here are awakening within you. They continued upward, and with each step, more of the planet's history unfolded in Ilara's mind. She saw the first contact between humans and the native species, the discovery of the luminary and their essence, the development of the resonance bond. By midday, they had climbed above the forest canopy. Looking back, Ilara could see the crash site of her ship, a dark scar in the purple landscape. Beyond it lay other biomes, vast plains, a distant ocean, what looked like immense crystal formations jutting from the ground. Your world is beautiful, she told Vex. Our world, the alien corrected. For now, you are bound to it as I am. The reminder of her situation sobered Ilara. The Guardians mentioned a third moon. What happens then? Vex pointed to the sky where 3 moons hung faintly visible even in daylight, one large and gray, one small and reddish, and one medium-sized with a greenish tint. When the green moon reaches zenith, my essence will reach critical state. Without the sacred burning to release it gradually, it will seek violent expression. And that's bad for everyone nearby, Ilara concluded. For everything within many kilometers, Vex confirmed. The discharge would destroy all life in its radius. So we have until the green moon rises to figure out an alternative, Ilara said, calculating. How long? 2 more days by your reckoning. They resumed their climb with renewed urgency. As they ascended further, the mountain terrain changed. Crystal formations became more common, jutting from the rock like massive prisms that split the dual sunlight into rainbow cascades. By late afternoon, they reached a plateau halfway up the mountain. Ilara stopped short, breath catching in her throat. Before them stood the Temple of Echoes, not a building as she had expected, but a massive, hollowed crystal formation. Its translucent walls captured and amplified light, sending it spiraling through internal chambers in complex patterns. The overall effect was of a living structure made of frozen music. It's incredible, she whispered. Vex's skin brightened with what might have been pride. The last great collaboration between humans and luminari before the separation. As they approached the temple entrance, an archway carved with intricate geometric patterns, Ilara felt the essence within her respond. The silvery coating on her skin pulsed and flowed, and her heightened senses registered thousands of energy signatures within the crystal walls. What are we looking for here? She asked. Knowledge, Vex said simply. And perhaps salvation. They stepped into the temple, and the outside world seemed to fall away. Inside, light danced in patterns too complex to follow, creating 3-dimensional projections that shifted and changed. The floor beneath them hummed with energy that resonated with the essence in their bodies. Central to the main chamber was a pool similar to the one where Vex had healed, but larger and glowing with greater intensity. Surrounding it were 7 crystalline pillars, each pulsing with different colored light. Vex approached the pool reverently. The Well of Echoes. It contains the concentrated memories and knowledge of all who came before, human and luminary alike. Ilara felt drawn to the pool, the silvery substance coating her skin seeming to reach toward it of its own accord. What do I do? Immerse yourself, Vex instructed. The well will read your need and provide what is necessary. Hesitating only briefly, Ilara stepped into the glowing liquid. It felt neither wet nor dry, but rather like stepping into pure energy. As it closed over her head, her consciousness expanded exponentially. In an instant, she accessed the accumulated knowledge of centuries, the full history of human involvement on this planet, the nature of the essence, the purpose of the resonance bond. She saw the truth of the sacred burning, understood the role of the guardians and the tribal hunters in maintaining the balance of energy across the planet. Most importantly, she learned why the humans had left, and what promise they had made to return. When she emerged from the well, Ilara was changed. The silvery coating now covered her entirely, and her eyes had taken on a mercurial quality similar to Vex. But the physical changes were nothing compared to the transformation of her understanding. Vex waited expectantly, skin shifting with anxious patterns. You have seen. Yes, Ilara confirmed, her voice carrying new harmonics. I understand now. The humans didn't leave by choice. They had to go, to protect both species from what was coming. The great imbalance, Vex said. It nearly destroyed this world. Ilara nodded, processing the ancient memories now integrated with her own. The human luminary bond was too successful. It created beings of such power that they disrupted the planetary energy field. The separation was necessary to prevent catastrophe. But a promise was made, Vex prompted. A promise that humans would return when a new balance could be achieved. Ilara finished, when both species had evolved enough to handle the power of true resonance. She looked down at her transformed body, feeling the essence flowing through her veins, recognizing that she stood at a pivotal moment in the histories of two species. The original burning ritual was never meant to sacrifice the luminary, she said, understanding crystallizing. It was a controlled release of excess essence that allowed the luminary to survive while nourishing the planet. But after the humans left, the knowledge was lost. The ritual became corrupted. Vex's skin rippled with emotion, and my kind accepted our role as sacrifice, generation after generation. Ilara approached one of the 7 crystal pillars, placing her hand upon it. The crystal responded to her touch, glowing brighter and projecting images into the chamber, schematics for a device, a machine that could safely harvest and redirect essence without harming the luminary host. This is what we need, she said, the original essence harmonizer. With this, you wouldn't need to burn. The essence could be channeled back into the planetary field without sacrifice. Hope radiated from Vex in palpable waves. Can we build it in time? The 3rd moon rises tomorrow night. Ilara studied the schematics with her scientifically trained mind, enhanced now by the knowledge of the well. Yes, the temple contains the necessary components. But there's more, Vex. The knowledge in the well suggests that my arrival was no accident. What do you mean? The electromagnetic storm that knocked my ship off course, it was generated by this planet itself. The planetary consciousness has been calling to humans for generations, trying to re-establish the connection lost during the separation. Before Vex could respond, a new presence filled the temple chamber. The guardians had arrived, led by the sentinel who had spoken to them at the pool. You have accessed the ancient knowledge, the sentinel said, its mental voice grave. You know the truth of our history. Ilara faced the towering guardian without fear, her transformed body humming with newfound power and understanding. I know that this sacred burning as practiced now is a corruption of what was intended. I know that humans and luminary were meant to work together, not sacrifice one for the other. The old ways led to calamity. The sentinel countered. The separation was necessary, but not permanent, Ilara insisted. The promise was to return, to find a new balance. I found the designs for the original harmonizer. With it, we can channel Vex's essence safely, without sacrifice. The sentinel's obsidian faceplate shifted, revealing more of the glowing core beneath. You presume much, human. The harmonizer requires both species working in perfect resonance. Such harmony has not existed for millennia. Ilara gestured to her transformed body, to the perfect silver sheen that matched Vex's natural form. It exists now. The resonance between Vex and me is stronger than any recorded in your histories. Let us try. The Guardians communicated among themselves in pressure waves that Ilara could now interpret. They debated, argued, considered. Finally, the Sentinel spoke again. The risk is great. If you fail, the discharge of essence could destroy the temple and all within it. And if we succeed, Ilara countered, you regain lost knowledge and save countless luminary from unnecessary sacrifice. Another voice joined the conversation. Multiple voices, a chorus of mental signatures that radiated from all around them. The tribal hunters had arrived, filling the temple entrance, their bone masks and copper-plated skin catching the crystal light. The human speaks truth, said their leader, stepping forward. We have followed the corrupted ritual for generations, believing it necessary. If there is another way. The sentinel considered the tribal hunter leader for a long moment. You would abandon the old ways, patriarch? We would honor the oldest ways, the patriarch corrected. The truth before the separation. A tense silence filled the temple as the guardians deliberated. Finally, the sentinel turned back to Ilara and Vex. You may attempt to construct the harmonizer. But know this, if you fail, if the essence threatens to discharge chaotically, we will not hesitate to neutralize both of you to protect the greater balance. It wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement, but it was permission. Ilara looked to Vex, who nodded in determination. Then let's get to work, she said. We have until moonrise. The bond. Under the dual sun's light filtering through the temple's crystalline walls, Ilara and Vex worked with desperate urgency. The knowledge Ilara had absorbed from the Well of Echoes guided her hands as she assembled components that hadn't been touched in millennia. The primary resonance chamber needs to be calibrated precisely, she explained, positioning a crystal matrix that hummed when she touched it. Too much energy flow, and it shatters, too little, and it won't properly channel the essence. Vex worked alongside her, the silver alien's hands moving with surprising dexterity. The balance must be perfect, they agreed, just as the balance between our species was meant to be. The tribal hunters and guardians maintained a wary distance, observing the construction with guarded interest. Their centuries-old animosity seemed temporarily suspended in the face of potentially world-changing discovery. As they worked, the bond between Ilara and Vex deepened. The resonance that had begun with their first contact grew stronger, their minds touching across previously unimaginable barriers. Ilara found herself accessing Vex's memories. The pain of growing up knowing their destiny was sacrifice, the fear as the ritual approached, the moment of desperate hope when a human appeared from the stars. I can feel what you felt, Ilara whispered, pausing in her work. Your whole life, preparing to die. Vex's mercury eyes met hers. And I sense your wonder, your curiosity. The human drive to explore, to understand, to connect. It is beautiful. The exchange brought tears to Ilara's transformed eyes. Tears that fell like liquid silver onto the device they were building. To her surprise, the drops didn't damage the components, but instead seemed to be absorbed, making the crystal glow brighter. Emotional resonance enhances the connection, explained the sentinel, who had moved closer to observe. This was documented in the ancient records. That's why the burning ritual failed after the separation, Ilara realized. Without the human emotional component, the essence couldn't properly disperse. The patriarch of the tribal hunters approached cautiously. Our ancestors believed the suffering of the luminary was necessary. That pain purified the essence before release. A misunderstanding, Vex said without accusation. What was needed was not pain, but genuine connection. As the green moon began its slow ascent in the afternoon sky, Ilara felt the pressure building within Vex. The luminary's skin flickered with internal light, bright pulses that revealed the critical state of the essence within. We need to hurry, Ilara said, returning to her work with renewed focus. The harmonizer must be operational before moonrise. The device taking shape before them was both elegant and complex, a series of crystal matrices arranged in concentric circles, each attuned to specific frequencies of essence. At its center was a hollow sphere that would contain and transform the raw energy before dispersing it safely into the planetary field. Ilara's transformation continued as they worked. The silver coating that had spread across her skin began to develop patterns similar to Vex's natural markings, swirling designs that glowed with inner light. Her perception expanded further, until she could sense the entire temple as an extension of herself, feel the energy flows between the crystals, the guardians, the tribal hunters, and most strongly, Vex. The final calibration requires both of us, Vex said as they installed the last component. Our energies must synchronize completely. Ilara nodded, understanding what this meant. A complete merging of consciousness, even if temporary, was the ultimate expression of the human-luminary bond. It was what had both empowered and endangered their ancestors. The sentinel stepped forward. Be warned, this level of resonance has not been attempted since the separation. The dangers are not fully documented. Neither are the possibilities, Ilara countered, her transformed voice carrying new harmonics. Isn't that what humans and luminary were meant to discover together? Before the guardian could respond, Vex's body convulsed suddenly, a bright pulse of energy escaping into the air. The tribal hunters backed away in alarm. The essence reaches critical state, the patriarch warned. The third moon rises. Indeed, the green satellite was now visible through the temple's crystalline ceiling, its eerie light adding to the surreal atmosphere within. It's time, Vex said, their voice strained. Are you ready, Ilara? She took a deep breath, centering herself. I am. They positioned themselves on opposite sides of the completed harmonizer. The device hummed between them, crystal components vibrating in complex patterns. Ilara placed her transformed hands on the designated contact points, and Vex did the same. The moment their energies connected through the device, Ilara's consciousness expanded beyond anything she had experienced before. She was no longer just herself. She was Vex. She was the temple. She was the planet itself. Memories not her own flooded her awareness, the entire history of this world from its formation to the present moment. She saw the first luminary born from the planet's unique energy field. She witnessed the arrival of the first humans, their wonder and curiosity as they encountered these beings of living light. She experienced the development of the resonance bond, the golden age of cooperation, the terrible power that grew unchecked, the painful decision to separate, and she understood with perfect clarity what had gone wrong. The bond had become unbalanced, humans taking too much, luminary giving without limit. The resulting energy distortions had nearly torn the planet apart. But here, now, with the hard-won wisdom of centuries, balance could be restored. With effort, Ilara focused her expanded consciousness back to the task at hand. The essence within Vex had reached critical mass, straining at the boundaries of the luminary's form. Carefully, Ilara used her portion of the resonance to create a channel between Vex and the harmonizer. Let go, she prompted gently. Not all at once. Gradually, I'll guide it. Vex's mind touched hers in understanding and trust. Slowly, the luminary released control, allowing the volatile essence to flow into the harmonizer. The device's crystal matrices lit up in sequence, containing and converting the raw energy into harmonious patterns. Ilara felt the power surge through the device, through her, through everything. It was exhilarating and terrifying, far more energy than she had anticipated. For a moment, she feared the Sentinel had been right, that the harmonizer would fail and the resulting discharge would destroy them all. But then she remembered the missing component. The emotional resonance that the ancient humans had discovered was crucial to the process. Opening herself completely, Ilara poured her own feelings into the bond. Her wonder at this world, her scientific curiosity, her growing connection to Vex, her hope for what this moment might mean for both their species. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The chaotic energy stabilized, finding new patterns, new expressions. The harmonizer glowed with blinding intensity, but held stable, channeling the essence safely into the planetary field. Throughout the temple, the ancient crystal pillars awakened, responding to the energy flow. Patterns of light danced across walls and ceiling, forming images from the shared history of humans and luminary. The tribal hunters fell to their knees in awe, and even the guardians seemed momentarily stunned by the display. At the center of it all, Ilara and Vex remained connected through the harmonizer, their consciousnesses merged yet distinct, experiencing the power of true resonance as their ancestors had millennia ago. The process continued for what felt like hours but might have been minutes. Time had little meaning in their expanded state. When the last of the critical essence had been safely channeled, the harmonizer gently powered down, the blinding light fading to a soft glow. Ilara stumbled backward, suddenly returned to the limitations of individual consciousness. Her transformed body felt strange, both more and less than human. Across from her, Vex seemed similarly disoriented, their silver form flickering with aftershocks of energy. It worked, the luminary whispered, wonder evident in their mental voice. I still exist. The Sentinel approached, its obsidian armor reflecting the lingering light in the chamber. The essence has been successfully dispersed. The planetary field shows no signs of distortion or damage. The process appears to have been optimal. Coming from the Guardian, this was high praise indeed. Ilara found herself smiling despite her exhaustion. Not bad for a crash-landed human and a runaway sacrifice. The patriarch of the tribal hunters stepped forward, removing his bone mask for the first time. His face was weathered, but his eyes shone with emotion. For generations, we have followed the corrupted ritual, believing we served the balance. Our ancestors would weep to know how we misunderstood their teachings. Knowledge can be lost, Ilara said gently, but it can also be recovered. Vex approached, reaching out to touch Ilara's hand. The contact sent pleasant ripples of energy between them. The bond between us remains. You still carry my essence within you. Is that dangerous? Ilara asked, looking to the Sentinel. The Guardian's faceplate shifted in what might have been consideration. Unknown. No human has maintained a resonance bond beyond the energy transfer in many generations. The ancient records are incomplete on this matter. I feel fine, Ilara said, taking inventory of her transformed body. Different, but not unwell. The Well of Echoes may hold answers, Vex suggested. Now that the critical phase has passed, we can search the records more thoroughly. Ilara nodded, but before they could move toward the pool, a new sound echoed through the temple, a high-pitched beeping that she recognized immediately. My emergency beacon, she said, pulling the device from her belt. It's receiving a response signal. My ship, the Horizon, is sending an automated message. The small screen on the beacon displayed a simple text. Rescue vessel APVROACHing. Coordinates locked. Estimate arrival. 680 URs. Ilara stared at the message, emotions conflicting within her. Part of her felt relief. Rescue meant survival, return to Earth, to her life. But another part, the part transformed by the resonance, felt sudden despair at the thought of leaving this world, leaving Vex. Your people come for you, Vex said softly, the luminary's mercury eyes unreadable. As was destined, the Sentinel and the Patriarch exchanged glances. The cycle repeats. The Guardian observed. Humans arrive, forge bonds, depart.